welcome to the Week 2 review from Deerfield Fantasy Football. It is our 250th episode, which, normally we'd do something special to celebrate, but I didn't realize it was episode 250 until I was making the intro graphic. So, yeah, 250th episode for Deerfield Fantasy Football. It's been a ride to 250. Sometimes it's been fun. Sometimes it's been not. There's always been beer. Except for that one time we almost forgot. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I am your host at Hot BFF with 2 P's, coming to you live on YouTube from St. Louis, Missouri, and less live if you're listening to the audio version sometime other than we're recording it. Joined by Dan Thury in his Baker Mayfield jersey, backwards hat. If you're on YouTube, you don't need me to describe all that from... I just rhymed. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
From Springfield, Illinois. Dan.
Well, it's been a long day, but I got 2 different beers and watching what is turning into a pretty boring fucking game.
Yeah. I've not gotten to see the game at all. It's a busy week at work for me, so I didn't catch any of this so far, but apparently Trevor Simeon's ankle bent in a way it's not supposed to bend, so that's never good. Social media, Beerfield FF on Twitter. Give us a follow there. Instagram and Untapped as well. Beerfield Fantasy Football on YouTube if you want me to not have to describe what Dan is wearing to you and you want to see it for yourself. You can watch us there. You can also ask us questions there. It's kind of the big kind of the biggest benefit to that. Not seeing our ugly mugs, being able to ask questions. Sunday live shows there as well. Every Sunday morning, all your start sits questions. Usually have some decent conversation going on there. So be sure to show up for that. Catch all your latest news since we're not doing the Friday episode anymore. That's where you're going to get all of it. Before we get started, we got to go over our winner of the week and beer punishment. And the answer this week is that we won't have an answer until Wednesday because I'm in the lead right now, 8 points to 6, but Dan has 2 going still. So for those of you keeping track at home, I was right about Josh Jacobs. Definitely not right about Latavius Murray and right about Calvin Ridley for our starts. So 2 out of 3 again this week. 2 out of 3 again on my sits for Kirk Cousins and Devonta Freeman, who are quarterback 27 and running back 30. Just missed on Adrian Peterson, who ended up as running back 23. Actually could still end up right on that through attrition.
That's true. You could. With the way that Bell's been playing, he could be moving.
Yeah, so Bell...
And Chubb. Yeah, he's probably moving back too.
Yeah, so if Adrian Peterson moves back, then Dan can't beat me.
No, because then you'll lose Josh Jacobs.
Huh? I will lose
Jacobs. You'll lose Josh Jacobs.
I will lose Josh Jacobs as well, so it'll keep it even, basically.
Yes, pretty much.
So, yeah, there's that. And then for streams, I was wrong about Derek Carr, but right about Jason Witten, right about the 49ers defense. There is no changing that. So, and you call it Tyrell Williams as the wide receiver 25, and the Cardinals at plus 13.5, which Dan weirdly argued with me about, but they ended up right on both of those. Yeah, you did. You told me that was the type of bet you don't like making because it was on the road.
Well, I didn't say that you were wrong. I just said I wouldn't make that type of bet because those type of over.
And you wouldn't have won. So there's that too.
I wouldn't have lost either. I wouldn't have never bet against it.
There's that too. Well, I did, and it worked out.
That's a weird flex.
I did. I also won on my prop bet, which you guys don't get to hear because those aren't utterly enough. But Austin Eckler there. For Dan, what's that?
I said good.
All right, for Dan. It was 1 point so far. Jamison Crowder has not gone yet. Michael Gallup, way outside of the starting realm. He did get himself hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Sony Michel, running back 17. For sits, Robbie Anderson hasn't played yet. You'll probably be right about that if I had to guess. Cortland Sutton at the 58. Aaron Jones was a running back 2.
Yeah, yikes. Yeah, he was the running back 2.
Yeah.
Not a running back 2.
The running back 2.
Yeah.
For streams, Josh Allen at the quarterback 7. Good call there. Jimmy Graham, tight end 54.
I'm staying away from Green Bay.
0 points. And the Texans at DST 3, so great call on the Texans. I'm glad I started them.
Yep.
and you call it's for Michelle and the Falcons. You covered both. So basically, what we're waiting on to decide who gets the punishment here is how this ends up. Basically, if there's a push from Peterson and Jacobs, both outside of the top 24, then I stay even. If Jacobs gets bumped, but AP ends up on the top 24, then I lose a point. So we'll know on Wednesday. Basically, Dan could still win this. We could tie. I could win.
My money is on you winning because I don't think Luke Falk is going to make Jamison Crowder relevant enough to be worth a start. But
it'll make
we
Robbie
still have a
Anderson
second
worth
half
the
to
sit.
go.
And again, if only one of Bell or Chubb ends up in the top 24, then that keeps Adrian Peterson from being right, but pushes. No, it doesn't push Jacobs out. Jacobs is top 30. Never mind. Jacobs have to lose 6 spots tonight.
Oh, I suppose. Never mind.
Yeah, because we give that cushion on the starts. So
yeah.
So if Peterson gets pushed out by Chubb and Bell, then I'm gonna win anyway.
He's gonna get pushed out by Chubb.
So
Chubb's already scored tonight, and Bell's gonna probably.
There's that. So I'll let you know Wednesday who gets punished next Monday, and what they're drinking. Dan is hoping to not have to go another, rat stag. It might be nicer to him next week. We'll see.
I mean, I haven't hated drinking stag, which really makes me hate myself more for saying that. But
as it should. Speaking
worse
of beer,
could be worse.
Before we get into it, it is our Monday episode. So what you get from all that, other than us bragging about what we were right and or wrong about, you get all of the news, and then waivers, cuts, some dynasty darlings, pick your 6, so 6 top things we want to talk about from the week. But before we do all that, I got to tell you what we're drinking. And I need to get, preview right instead of review for once. There we go.
What's fueling Beer Fueled?
All right, if you've been listening to the show for what feels like the last 9 weeks or so, Dan is drinking an Oktoberfest. What do you got this week?
I am drinking Hacker Shore from Munich, Germany. Their Oktoberfest. Don't worry, guys. There's only one more left on Wednesday, and then I'll be done with the Oktoberfest series. Figured it'd be fun to do something else. And I'm also drinking Stag because I suck at telling you guys what to do. So, fuck.
All right. And I am drinking Bianca, which sounds way, like something you'd get on Pornhub instead of a podcast. But I'm
drinking my sex tape.
Yeah. Drinking Bianca?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's been worse.
Sure there has. Dan, I hope you don't really have a sex tape, do you?
No. Okay. Have you not seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
No.
Okay. That's kind of their thing. If
sex tapes?
Yeah. So like, as soon as somebody says something like funny or I guess sexual, Jake, which is not Jake, Aaron Peralta, which is played by or Jake Peralta, which is played by Andy Samberg, says title of your sex tape. So that's what he said. Drinking Bianca, I was like, title of your sex tape.
All right.
I know it's a long-winded way to explain it.
And we're done. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. We'll catch you all next week. No, it's from Omni Pollo Brewing. I have a weird thing about this, and I don't know why this particular place I go always does this, but it's distributed by one brewery and brewed by another brewery and marketed by another brewery, and I'm never really sure how to advertise those.
Sounds odd.
Yeah, so the distributor definitely doesn't get credit because they don't do shit other than deliver it. So I just pissed off every distributor in the world.
Yes.
It's brewed and canned by Great South Bay Brewery in Bayshore, New York for Omni Pollo. So I'm going to give credit to the brewery instead of the person who's like, I don't even know. If you're not, I'm so confused. If you're not brewing it or canning it and you're not distributing it, what the fuck are you doing?
I don't know.
Providing the recipe?
I don't know.
I don't know. Either way.
I don't know.
It is a blueberry maple gosa. Blueberry maple pancake lassie gosa ale. Which there's a lot to unpack there. Brewed with blueberries, lactose, sugar, and maple syrup. So again, that is a blueberry maple pancake lassie gosa ale.
Wow.
Again, lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, let's get to something that's not any less difficult to unpack in the news.
News.
Sports Illustrated's Robert Klimko reports AB is facing sexual misconduct allegations from a second accuser stemming from an incident in 2017. AB, of course, has denied this as well. This is the part where they all start coming out of the woodwork like we see every time somebody's accused.
Yep. I'm not going to say I'm shocked by it or I'm not shocked by it because, these things, if they are true, are still very serious allegations. You need to take them seriously. But this whole thing with AB has been pretty fucking weird to begin with. So I'm just sitting here and kind of enjoying this ride. Mainly now because he's with New England, and I want
not because of the allegations. Not enjoying it because of the allegations.
No.
Because
we are a pro phrasing show here. No, mainly because I want to see New England burn.
Yes. So. You just got to wait for that to unpack. Honestly, doesn't look good though. The Browns promoted Elijah McGuire from their practice squad. Looks like he's going to play in tonight's game with Dontrell Hilliard in the concussion protocol. McGuire had some relevance with the Jets. We'll see how he does tonight.
He has done nothing.
Okay, good. This is, yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been named the starter for Week 3 against the Cowboys, which is an indictment.
I had to put despite his best efforts.
Yeah, despite his best efforts, which not like Rosen isn't trying to not start for that team either.
I don't think anybody wants to start.
Killer. No, nobody. None. They should bring Jay Cutler out of retirement again. That worked out so well last time.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't own Dolphins. It goes for you too, SeaWorld. Giants coach Pat Shurmur declined to name Eli Manning the starter in Week 3. Either way, looks like that's coming to an end. Yeah, it is coming to an end. I'm not going to even read the commentary. If he's not declaring the starter, if Daniel Jones starts, that's it. There was an atrocious showing. It's not like he had any supporting cast around him other than Saquon Barkley, who was good. But, yeah, nobody really to throw to or to save him.
Well, it's just him and Evan Ingram. The fact that Manning, I think, is silently trying to kill off his time there.
They're actually going to listen to Dan's advice and see what they have in somebody, which should happen at this point.
Yeah, should.
And Adam Schefter is reporting that Jaguars defensive back Jalen Ramsey has requested a trade after a shouting match with Doug Marrone. They need to blow this defense up because what I've seen in the first 2 weeks is an undisciplined team on defense that where their egos are outproducing their performance. Now, they did hold Houston in check, but in Week 1, the egos definitely outproduced the performance. And got to blow it up and get rid of it. I think Jalen Ramsey thinks he's bigger than this team. There was a shouting match on the sideline with Doug Marrone. You saw a little bit of that from Myles Jack as well. Ramsey has been the prototypical diva quarterback or cornerback who's good at what he does, but has gotten burned also. And really isn't doing them any favors at this point on a team that should be in a rebuild.
Yeah, he's basically the Odell Beckham, I guess, version of defensive backs.
Yeah.
Make highlight after highlights, but it's become a cancer to his locker room, to his team. And because of where the state of the Jaguars are at, they're not going to be good for a couple of years unless Gardner Minshew becomes the next Tom Brady. But
so Gardner Minshew has shown enough, given the cast of receivers he has, for me to think that he can be good. And I always kind of suspected that was going to be the case.
Yeah, of course.
When they signed, and I think you did too, when they signed Nick Foles, that Minshew had a chance, if he showed anything, to be the guy after that bridge deal was done, or even force them to move on. And now with Foles getting injured and Minshew playing admirably, as in he didn't kill them and he was only a 6th-round pick, I think that bodes well for him. We've seen flashes out of DJ Chark. We know D.D. Westbrook's talented, but not quite there yet. I mean, it's a kind of a shoddy offensive line. The offense has a ways to go, especially even from a coordinator standpoint. It's not exciting. The defense was the strength of this team, but Ramsey's ego is superseding that defense. and they're not going to win with just that necessarily. So,
Yeah.
I think that Ramsey getting traded to a team where I don't know that maybe can humble him. He's going to New England too. Fuck it.
I don't want to think that it'll be him and Fitzpatrick, not Ryan, of course, but Minka. They're all going there. Like they're all gonna like. This is going to be like the Golden State Warriors, and they're gonna lose to whoever the Dallas Maverick equivalent's gonna be. I guess in the AFC South, or I guess in the NFC, and then lose to that team in the Super Bowl.
It'll be the Cowboys.
It'll be it'll. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't want to see Dallas Cowboys. Like, I love Dak now, but no.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the real stuff to unpack.
Hangovers.
All right, ton of fantasy relevant injuries to get into. Ben Roethlisberger exited Week 2's game with a right elbow injury. After his MRI, it was determined he needs surgery. He's done for the season. Mason Rudolph going to be your starting quarterback for the Steelers. They did promote Devin Hodges. Appeared to be a UCL for Ben Roethlisberger is what I read, and also what it looked like. That's the injury that requires Tommy John surgery in baseball.
Oof.
So
you think he's done?
No, I do not think he's done. I think that with the throwing motion being different in football, they can usually come back sooner. It's early enough in the season where I think he does come back next year. And I think it's one of those things to where, kind of like with Darren Sproles or other guys we've seen in the past, where you want to go out on your own terms. I do not think this is a career ender for him. However, if Mason Rudolph comes out and performs, it could make things difficult on the Steelers. And Mason Rudolph has a chance to perform.
I mean, I was one on the show that liked him the most. You know, you got to see what he was able to do with Oklahoma State. He had two, draft-worthy NFL caliber receivers, and James Washington, who he has with Pittsburgh now, and then Marcel Aitman. Both have done nothing, so you got to at least think that Rudolph is good enough to at least get those two drafted. He's got weapons around him, though everyone on Pittsburgh seems banged up at this point. Connor also had an MRI done on his knee today. More on that in a little bit. But Juju and everything else aside, I don't think it completely kills these playmakers. You can like James Washington just because of the chemistry that they've built since college. The fact that what James Washington has done in preseason, his first 2 years, have been with Mason Rudolph. And then, Dante Moncrief completely falling off of a cliff and dying in that hellfire that he's created himself. So there might
more on
be
that later, where I am going to
Yeah.
gloat a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's fine. Like,
So
either way,
yeah, Mason Rudolph, you were the highest on him. Credit to you for that. It's not that we didn't like him. I think he was 5 for most of us, and I think you had him at 3 or 4 in that draft class.
yeah, I think so.
Quarterback wise, it wasn't a big gap. I remember that.
It wasn't not. No.
But Mason Rudolph is a talented quarterback. We thought he was behind the likes of Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, and I forget whoever else was in that class.
Baker, Lamar.
and Lamar. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we had him behind. But overall, he's a talented guy that showed he has some arm talent, shows he can sling the ball. I think he's good for this Steelers offense. He did get a year to sit and learn behind Ben and Josh Dobbs. So he's actually going to get a chance to produce, and I'm with you. I don't think he kills the offense. There is chemistry to like with James Washington, and Washington has shown flashes over the first 2 years, and I don't think it kills Juju either. And we saw him have some chemistry with Vance McDonald as well. So
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 touchdowns. So
it's interesting to watch. If he's not rostered in Superflex, he's definitely worth a pickup. If you lost Big Ben in plus matchups, I think you can probably stream him as well. But be sure to keep tuning into the Wednesday episode for who we like as streamers.
Yep.
Speaking of quarterback injuries, Drew Brees looks to have torn a ligament in his throwing thumb. He's getting surgery. Reports are saying he's going to miss up to 6 weeks. It was also his UCL. Different UCL, though, obviously thumb and elbow, not the same thing.
Yes.
Teddy Bridgewater is the starter moving forward. And I think that will stay the same. Taysom Hill not that. I had this debate at dinner today of whether Teddy Bridgewater was an NFL caliber quarterback, which he started before.
Yes,
He is an NFL caliber quarterback. You have to game plan differently for Teddy Bridgewater than you do for Drew Brees, though. And coming in, you didn't really see that because, again, you have to game plan differently. I'd expect more RPO, especially with Kamara. In there from Teddy Bridgewater. He is a mobile quarterback. He can throw, but he's not going to read the field like Drew Brees does. Nobody does. Probably going to kill Traquan Smith. It's going to hurt Jared Cook. Michael Thomas should be fine. Alvin Kamara may actually see a benefit from it.
I think both, because the fact that I watched Bridgewater, because, obviously drafted by the Vikings, he likes to funnel one target. That's going to be Michael Thomas. I think he had 80% of his targets when he came in for Drew Brees. He's going to rely on his big body possession receiver. What this does is it kills the ceiling of these guys. This is not going to be the same offense until Drew Brees comes back. You have to lower the expectations that these guys are going to be the top three of their position. Kamara could likely get the touches to get you there, but the touchdowns may be what's going to be more difficult. I agree with you. He's going to kill all secondary guys. He's going to kill Traquan Smith, who's already hurt as well. He's going to kill Ted Ginn. I'm not going to gloat on Jared Cook, but he's going to kill Jared Cook, at least until Drew Brees comes back and the offense gets rolling again. It also kill Latavius Murray, as this team could be playing from behind a little bit more, or could be leaning on his all-star supporting cast a little bit more. And Murray was really more touchdown upside than he was volume. So
Yep. Agree completely on the Latavius Murray point as well. So for Drew Brees, if you're in single quarterback, you have an IR spot, stash him, otherwise drop him. You don't need to keep quarterbacks you're not using for 6 weeks on your bench.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially ones that are fringe QB ones anyway.
Yeah.
All right, James Conner is going to undergo tests to determine the severity of his injured knee. This happened late in the game against the Seahawks. It was reported that his knee injury is not expected to be serious.
Yeah,
so
he came out and said that he feels pretty confident that he's going to play this week.
He should be fine. This is the reason why we weren't as high on James Conner as other people were. Not just the efficiency of the offense, but the fact that he does have a tendency to get banged up. I'm expecting him to be fine. I don't expect anything else out of this. James Conner should be leaned on a little bit more without Big Ben there, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if just monitor the knee though. I mean, he is someone that hasn't, I guess, necessarily had the track record of coming back quickly from even soft tissue stuff or just even minor, sprains and groins. You saw it last year after the bulk of the carries that he had in the first half of the season, and then the wear and tear started to show in the second half. Again, just like with the Saints, Mason Rudolph's not going to provide you the same firepower that Big Ben potentially could have, even though Big Ben has looked terrible this season before he got hurt. We said before that the offense isn't as high powered as it was. So slight lean to Connor's upside, but he should see some pass catching work even more so given inexperience a quarterback.
Yep. All right. John Gruden told reporters today that running back Josh Jacobs is dealing with a groin issue. Something to monitor. It's not something I'm worried about right now. Josh Jacobs did only see 12 carries. That was more game script than anything. He proved he can be efficient with those. Tyrell Williams got a touchdown and was in late into the game. Not the week we'd hoped for, but the touchdown kind of saved you with him. Just monitor both of these. It's not something I'm saying freak out about yet. If for some reason Jacobs can't go, you'd have the Washington-Richard combo. For some reason Williams can't go. Hunter Renfrow is the next most targeted wide receiver, but you'd really be looking at Darren Waller.
It's going to be Water and Tyrell. At least at this point, I guess if Tyrell, of course, isn't healthy, then it's going to be
Waller.
I think a lot of short stuff and very little deep shots, which is good for Hunter Renfrow if you're going to throw him out there. The note on Jacobs though is it's great that he got 99 carries or 99 yards and
99 carries. I can explain
99 carries, 99 yards on 12 carries. But I think he only saw one target, and we got to see this team shift to Jalen Richard and Dwayne Washington when the game script flipped. So,
yeah,
we were kind of right on that, I guess.
Yeah. Bills running back Devin Singletary suffered a hamstring injury late in the fourth quarter. He's considered day-to-day. Frank Gore is obviously the other one getting carries there. More on that later.
Yeah.
Both of Kansas City's running backs, LaShawn McCoy and Damian Williams, suffered injuries. Sounds like Shady's is less concerning, but something owners should monitor throughout the week. What was the diagnosis on Williams' knee?
There's been no updates. Being the fact that I didn't have to work today, I've been kind of leaving everything open. All the apps I have, they kind of update pretty quickly, and when things break out, there's been no news on either. It just sounds like the Bills a little bit more optimistic about LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
Either way, Darwin Thompson, truthers, you can start to saddle up. But the running backs in general have not looked great the first 2 weeks, especially on Sunday. Oakland did a pretty good job in holding both these guys in check.
Oakland did a decent job against Denver, though, too. That front,
They did.
Their
They
front
did.
seven's actually pretty good. So I think it's more Oakland than Kansas City. As for
Well, now they get Baltimore next week, so
that's not good
like
either.
it gets much better.
It doesn't get much better. So Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey suffered injuries in last night's game. No updates on either so far. Jeffries is a mild calf strain, but week 3 availability is in doubt. Neither one of these guys played for the majority of the game, which Alshon Jeffrey kind of hurt a little bit. Aguilar, Hollins, and Ortega Whiteside, which I found out it's pronounced Ortega last night, filled in. So just watch. I don't know, because they both got hurt at about the same time. I don't know if Ortega Whiteside or Hollins is higher than the other one. I don't really have good analysis on that.
I think it'd be like if Deshaun Jackson misses time, it'll be Mac Hollins. I think during his rookie season, you saw Mac use as more of a field stretcher, even though he's not super fast.
He's a big
he
body.
Can play that bigger body downfield role. Then Josh will kind of fill what Alshon would be as that bigger intermediate, and then still downfield guy. I'd probably be
Ortega Whiteside is the better route runner, at least naturally, and a better contested catch guy, even though Hollins is the bigger body. It'll be interesting to see. Nelson Aguilar, obviously, if either of them miss time, just given the rapport, gets a bump up.
Yeah, he looked. He's gonna get him and Ertz. And then Goddard also was hurt. He was hurt before the game started. He got hurt during warm-ups. So.
Calf for him as well.
Yeah. They have. I think I saw a note is they played 2 games in the next, or not in the next 10 games, but they play week 3 and week 4 in a 10-day stretch. So that could factor in with their availability in week 3 and in week 4. So just keep that up. We'll obviously update you more on that.
Yeah, we'll have more
when
Wednesday.
they come up here.
Michael Gallup's going to have an MRI on his knee that he injured in yesterday's win. Actually, did have the MRI.
Yep.
They're going to trim his meniscus, so he's likely to miss 2 to 4 weeks. Devin Smith should be the fill-in there. More on that later.
Yep.
49ers left tackle Joe Staley fractured the fibula for him. He's expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Didn't really seem to affect Jimmy Garoppolo. So,
well, no, but it does. I mean, this team's. I mean, normally we don't talk about offensive linemen or
well, it's Joe Staley. You have to talk about him, and if they're facing a good pass rush, then yes, that's notable. I'm not knocking.
Well,
you
also
for
the running
there,
game too.
But
so. No, I know.
They do run outside a lot, also, and off tackle. So, but either way, the running game and everything was working for them even after the Staley injury. So,
yeah, more in Cincinnati and people to play against them later.
Yes. All right, let's go ahead and get to pick your 6, our top 6 storylines of the week.
Pick your 6.
All right, Dan, you want to talk Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson, so go ahead and kick off that conversation.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of preach to you guys why you wait on quarterbacks. The number 1 and number 2 quarterback through 2 weeks. I guess it's only been 2 weeks. Has been guys you could have drafted in the mid to late rounds. I think Jackson was like the 10, 11, or 12 ADP quarterback, and then Dak was at the late draft, I think around like 18 and 19 quarterback taken. And these are your guys that are leading all quarterbacks through most scoring formats as of right now. Both have produced very strong performances in the last 2 weeks, and both have kind of solidified themselves as, I guess, in my opinion, as guys you can trust to throw in weekly. We got to see Jackson's improvement as a passer, what his running ability and what the receivers they put around him, and Mark Andrews has kind of given this offense, and just the fact that he can do whatever the fuck he wants, because you have to respect him running the football. Mark Ingram has been fantastic in that role as well, and then just with the burst, or then just with the breakouts that we've seen with Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews has kind of helped them. Dak, we've talked about a lot. We were very high on Dak here. But my question is, do you agree with me that these two are both at least top 3 to 5 options moving forward for your quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's hard not to. I want to disagree on Lamar Jackson a little bit, but that's more selfish towards me being right than it is what we've actually seen out of Lamar Jackson. Now, he has had 2 easy matchups against Miami and the Cardinals. He did look slightly worse against the Cardinals than he wasn't blowing them out, and did miss a couple throws. But so top 3 to 5 option, no. Top 8, yes.
I mean, he did add, so like in that bad performance,
he did add a ton of
120 rushing yards. So,
I get it. I'm waiting for the only thing I'm waiting on Lamar Jackson to validate that, with this being his first full year as starter, is to see him perform against a bad defense, and that will sell me on top 3 to 5. Right now, I'm going to say top 5 to 8 because of that rushing floor and because of what he has shown as a passer. He obviously has improved. He's been more on the mark. And again, that's still a quarterback 1. That's still, you're starting him most weeks. But for me to consider him top 3 to 5 and that must start, you need to see him perform against bad defenses or against good defenses like Deshaun Watson has. And for Dak Prescott, I want to give... I'm playing devil's advocate for both guys. I like Dak as well, and I like what I've seen out of Lamar. Dak, I'm going to put in that same range. He's a quarterback 1, and you're going to start him most weeks. What I want to see out of Dak is I just want this to go on for another 2 to 3 weeks to see if the NFL is going to adjust to Kellen Moore or not. Because it is a new offense.
Yeah, sure.
So, and it's a brand new coordinator that is calling that offense. And we know the NFL can and usually does adapt. So I want to see if they do adapt. I love what I've seen right now, and I'm not hesitating to run either guy out there. But those are the 2 things I'm watching for before I become 100% comfortable. I'm probably about 92% sold on each guy.
Hey, we'll take it.
It's that other 8% that I'm focusing on right now, and that's what I want to see. If I can see Lamar Jackson put together a QB1 performance against a top 10 defense, and if I could see Dak Prescott go another 2 to 3 weeks like this without the NFL adapting to Kellen Moore, I'm sold.
Yeah, they both get very juicy matchups. Lamar gets Kansas City. That should be a very fun game to watch. And Dallas gets Miami. So, yay.
Yeah. Okay, Dallas and Miami. That is absolutely a throw Dak out there and start him. More on Dak Tuesday. Or Wednesday. All right, I want to talk about Buffalo's running backs for a second. So Devil Singletary.
Yeah.
Devin Singletary and the groin injury, notwithstanding. First off, Frank Gore has 19 carries, 68 yards, and a touchdown, and 11 carries in week 1. That 19 carries is from last week. And Singletary's been very, very efficient in both games. Is there any reason why both of these guys shouldn't be owned and flexed at this point, given what we've seen from the first 2 weeks? Yeah, so it is the Giants and the Jets. The defense argument withstands, but Gore's getting volume, and Singletary is being super efficient with what he is getting.
I mean, you got to pick up Frank Gore with the Devin Singletary news. You can pick him up now because he's getting the work. Like, what shocks me more is that as much as we want to hate on Devin Singletary, he's looked good with his attempts. He's getting targets, but he's not getting carries, which means is that they're both going to be pretty volatile players to own. Devin's not going to always post this, post these massive efficient runs. But this looks like to me is another potential Denver Broncos situation with Phillip Lindsay and Bryce Freeman, except the roles are a little bit more defined. I want to see how this plays out more. I'm definitely picking up Frank Gore. They get Cincinnati this upcoming week. Cincinnati just looked fucking garbage on defense. Chris Carson went off against them week 1. And then you got to see what the 49ers running game as a total did to them. It was abysmal. But beyond after that, let's see how they adjust to how Devin Singletary has looked to start the season. And if Frank Gore decides, or if Frank Gore then starts to lose his carries.
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
The Steelers are trading a 2020 first-round pick to the Dolphins for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Why?
Why?
I mean, that's good, but you just lost your franchise quarterback for the year.
Because you have the chance to get a first round
But
pick
it's a good.
on a rookie deal still.
That's true.
For the
That's true.
next,
That's fair.
I mean, he was drafted last year, so I mean, you still got 3 years plus the option year on Fitzpatrick to solidify a team that's traditionally been run first in defense. If you're not going to win with your franchise quarterback, you're going to have to win with your defense, right? So why not go out and get a ball hawk safety and a guy that you can put there and solidify who has a chance to be the best safety since Troy Polamalu run back there.
Is he going to be a safety? Are they going to do what he hated in Miami and try to play him in different ways?
I mean, if you put him at cornerback, then you've got him and Joe Hayden.
No, I'm not saying I don't like the move. It was more of a snap judgment. I probably shouldn't have said why. It's more or less the fact that I think it'd be more of a win now, but I guess it does add into wanting to rebuild the secondary. So I do completely agree with you there.
And it's a very long-term move because he is still on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
So
it just, like, for me, it's like if Mason Rudolph struggles and Big Ben doesn't come back the way that we all expect him to, you could have used that first could have been used for, like, quarterback and anything else. I'm reading more into this than I probably should, being that secondary pieces are so very important with all this as a pass-heavy league. So
yeah, and the fact that, again, you get 3 years of a guy plus a fourth that was a first-round pick, and you gave up a first-round pick when he's not performed badly. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it's a good move for the Steelers, especially long-term outlook. If you're going to try to rebuild that defense, which hasn't been the same since Shazier got hurt, a good way to do it is to put a safety in that secondary next to Joe Hayden that can also slide over and play corner if you need him to. I don't think they'll use him in multiple ways. I think they get to specify one. They'll get to specialize one way or another. But I think it's a good move. And really, if you're going to try to win this year with Mason Rudolph, it's got to be old school, run the football with James Conner and play defense.
Yeah, well, then also this is a good move for Miami because if Pittsburgh does struggle and they can't win a bunch of games,
they get a
high first round pick and with a good quarterback options and good receiving options.
And they're going to have a high pick anyway, so I mean they're going to get multiple high round picks to fuck up.
Yeah. All right. So we got a question here from Ryan Dallas. He says, should I trade Evan Ingram and Kyle Murray for a Travis Kelce? The starter is Wentz. If this is yes on both. If it's redraft, if it's dynasty, if it's I guess if it's super flex or 2 QB, you can maybe lean to no. But Travis Kelce is still far and wide the best tight end. He's still the number one in terms of tier wise. And then Evan Ingram's always going to be capped to the loss of offensive upside there in New York.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on this?
That's a massive upgrade at tight end. If you've got, in a vacuum, if you've got Carson Wentz, you're fine getting rid of Kyler Murray, especially if it's redraft. So, yeah, absolutely.
If it's super flex, I can see why. I can see the pause for concern. But yeah, it just depends. Like if it is super flex, it just depends who your backups are. If you only have 3 quarterbacks, I don't know if I make that move. But it's a huge upgrade at tight end.
Yeah, big upgrade at tight end, and if you're not playing Kyler Murray over Carson Wentz, you're not really losing anything. So
yeah, that's true. Very true.
Yeah. All right. On to our second pick your 6, 42 minutes into the episode. Mark Andrews.
Wow. All right, so we'll keep this short. Has Mark Andrews kind of played himself into that I have to play him every week no matter what, given the matchup? He's your number 1 tight end right now in half-point PPR.
The short answer is yes. There's 0 scenarios right now where I want to sit Mark Andrews, given the fact that he is being used by Lamar Jackson and, Marquise Brown. Yeah, sure. But Mark Andrews is it. So, yes, I mean, must play.
He's got back-to-back games of 6+ targets. He's only had one, or I guess he's caught 16 of his 17 targets, scored in both games. He's got 10 or more. He's got 10 points. He's got at least 10 points above all competition right now. I know again it's 2 weeks, but we'll take a minor victory lap on saying you should be drafting Mark Andrews.
Yep. All right. The next guy I'm going to talk about is going to save us a little bit of time later because let's just go ahead and talk about him now. Terry McLaurin, 16 targets, 10 receptions, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the first 2 weeks. He's shown the ability to make contested catches, shown the fact that he's a good route runner with strong hands, and is on a Washington offense that, while it's not fantastic, is, I think, exceeding expectations right now.
Yeah, they're pushing the ball downfield. They have no running game, even with AP kind of looks okay. When Case Keenum gets benched or hurt, there shouldn't be a loss, being that he's played with Haskins in college. 16 targets on the season so far, touchdowns in both of those games, 90% plus snaps. So he's not coming off the field. That's what you want to see. He's been a darling. I'll admit I was wrong on him. And I have no issues with that. I just wish I would have wanted him more in places, but in redraft purposes, he needs to be picked up.
Yep.
Has to be.
I own him at a couple places. I am happy about that. I thought that you got to pick him up in redraft. He's probably not available in Dynasty. I'm not saying sell high either in Dynasty because I think that he probably is the real deal here. And I think that at worst, he's a Deshaun Jackson type of player. Yeah. So it's already a better route runner than Djax was earlier in his career. So I think that, I mean, good for you that hit on McLaurin. I was high on him, but I wasn't super high on him. So, yeah, I think he's been exceptional. And I think that in all matchups, but really bad ones, you're probably okay starting him as a wide receiver 3.
I mean, he could be game script. I guess he could be game script proof. They're going to go to him if they have to pass more.
Well,
he gets used downfield, and he gets used throughout. Like he doesn't just run like 2 or 3 different routes. It's not just in one way. They use them all over the field.
He's very versed as a route runner. And the other thing about game script is I don't know that I see a game script where Washington is blowing somebody out and stops throwing. And
exactly.
Do they play Miami this year? Because that's the only scenario I see where that might possibly happen. So yeah, he's pretty game script proof. All right, you wanted to talk about Denver's running backs, and I'm going to sit back and soak in the Royce Freeman.
Yeah, because we told you guys, don't reach on Phillip Lindsay. Hell, don't even touch him until at least the 6th round. I think that's what we said. Then you're going to draft Royce Freeman at a value. That value was likely 8 round plus, depending on when you drafted. Because both of them had turned into barely flex option plays. Well, they're flex option plays because they both have their role. This is a 50-50 split, though, and we've hinted at this as why you didn't want to take Lindsay. Freeman out-snapped Lindsay 52-48 against the Bears on Sunday. Lindsay had 2 more carries, but they both saw 7 targets, and Freeman outgained Lindsay total-wise, 102-66. This is pretty much the same in week 1. Lindsay had a little bit more snaps, but this is what you get. And the fact that Freeman wasn't using the passing game as much, especially in his rookie season, now is getting that freedom a little bit more. We always thought that he was more, that he was a more complete back. I think he had 79 catches in college. And he's the real deal. He's got the size to be it. We saw the durability loss of Phillip Lindsay last year towards the end of the season. Now you get a healthy Freeman who's got a lot more confidence. What do you make of this situation moving forward, though? What are you seeing between these two now?
Kind of what you just mentioned, really. I mean, it's kind of Ingram Kamara light, if you will, but I think that Royce Freeman's going to continue to ascend. He has a skill set coming out of college we thought to be a 3-down back. We know he can be a good pass catcher. He's more explosive than he looks. He's good between the tackles, and Phillip Lindsay has not necessarily looked great. So, for me, I think that Royce Freeman was the absolute right call, and I think that we see this become, I think Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler is probably a better comparison than even Kamara and Ingram, just because of the type of player that Royce Freeman is, to where he can be involved in both facets of the game if they need him to be. And, Phillip Lindsay is going to have to be a bit more efficient like he was last year, and going to have to get some of his working garbage time like Eckler traditionally has. So if I'm looking at a comparison here, I think what this ends up being is Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler.
Well, to a
degree,
Royce would have to really take over the touches, I think, for that to be the case. I see, we'll go a little bit way back, in Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams when they were both healthy for Carolina. both two backs who can provide you a lot of value because they can do things in both, facets of the game is running the football and catching the football. But when they're both healthy and like I guess neutral game scripts, aside, they're both going to eat into each other. I think they're both flex value though. I think Denver is good enough to at least make these guys in flex play.
But that's a net gain for Royce and it's a net loss for Lindsey. And that's the trend I'm banking on continuing to happen.
Yep.
So the Cardinals offense is what I want to talk about. So they haven't necessarily, they haven't won a game yet, but you had this week notwithstanding because of the wrist where he was out for a bit and came back. 18 rushes from David Johnson in week 1 and a touchdown. Targets, 24 over the first 2 weeks to Fitzgerald. That's 12 a game. 10 a game to Christian Kirk, 7 to Damiere Byrd. You got 217 yards receiving for Fitzgerald, 146 for Kirk through the first 2 weeks. Like 86 for Byrd, so deep leagues, I guess. And Kyler Murray's thrown the ball 94 times through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, since I think they had 12 carries. I mean, I know that David Johnson was hurt, but 12 carries.
Yeah.
In a game that wasn't out of reach. Like you gotta resemble some sort of balance and not let your opponent pretty much predict what you're gonna do.
Throwing the ball 47 times a game, not great for winning football games. It is great for fantasy though.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Larry Fitzgerald is on pace to be a wide receiver 1 again. Christian Kirk probably going to be a 2 or a 3 if they keep this up. David Johnson going to be super relevant. Damiere Byrd is getting week to week noticed. And for the Cardinals offense, is this kind of like what we saw to the Jaguars a couple of years ago? Before the defense turned really good?
Yeah. I mean, you're always banking on garbage time, which was always there. The offense is going to probably provide you more points throughout the game, though. I mean, you got to see it just really depends. Like, it's been 2 games into this, I guess, newly looked offense. The air raid, the 10 personnel is only in college. So I do expect them to start getting things going, once they play against weaker competition. Baltimore is a tough defense to play against. Detroit defensively has looked good the last 2 weeks too. So I'll wait to see how they look, but I'm not coming off of them in terms of fantasy wise though. That's for sure.
No, I'm not either. And actually, if I drafted Larry Fitzgerald as late as he was going, I'm happy about that. I think
you've been preaching them, and you know what?
I had been, and it's paying off.
Through 2 weeks, you can hang your hat on that. I still love Christian Kirk.
And Kirk hasn't been bad either. It's just that Fitzgerald hasn't fallen off a cliff like everybody thought he was going to after last season. Whereas
when you throw the ball 40 times a game,
right?
Like your 1 and 2 receivers should get volume.
I think if I told you that Christian Kirk was averaging 10 targets a game and 73 yards, you'd be plenty happy with that without the Larry Fitzgerald note, given this offense. So
it's the right process. You just the results will come. It just may be a little bit more volatile than they were.
Yep. But I think that Fitzgerald is absolutely proving what I thought. So
that he's not dead.
That he's not dead. That's good. All right. Glad he's not dead. Beer review.
Yes. We're not forgetting this
Beer
one.
review.
Well, it's real weird. It's like I clicked over from that. It's like I clicked over from the notes a few minutes ago and then clicked back, and there it was in big bold letters.
I know. I threw it on there. I'm like, we're not forgetting it this time.
All right. What do you got, Dan? How did you like Hacker Shore?
Hacker Shore?
Hacker Shore.
Compared to the other 2 German, I guess, Marzens, Oktoberfest, Fight Spirit, this one's my favorite. It's got the nice darky malt roast color to it. I know it's pretty gone. I've been drinking this in Stag pretty much on time the whole time here. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It's got a nice light to medium body. It's very drinkable. It's got that more of that American style. There's a little bit more sweet to it. It's still pretty dry, which is what you would get from most of that European style. So from what I've had from the Germans so far, this has been the best Oktoberfest. And as for the Stag, it's drinkable. Like, I'm not going to go too far in depth with this. It's just
no. I want an in-depth review of Stag.
Okay.
Just for fun.
just for fun.
Yep.
You know, the mountain water goodness that comes into this can that the mountaineers have to slave down. They walk 30 miles down the mountain every day to drop off the water that is used to help make this beer with the stag on it.
You tried real hard to make that sound elegant, didn't you?
It did not.
Did not work.
I am done. This is as much words as stag will get from me.
Yeah. All right, and so I had Bianca from Omni Pollo Brewing, which is a blueberry maple pancake lassie gosa ale, stout, Hefeweizen porter. Just figure if you call it 30 different things, you can't be wrong. So live studio audience tried this before I did because she filled it up a little bit full and said celery. And not wrong. And that's a real weird description to give to something with this, but it does have a forward and an aftertaste of celery. And I'm not sure how they pulled that off.
Interesting.
It's like I'm drinking a healthy snack. That being said, the blueberry does come out in the middle. There is a hint of maple. I've never had pancakes that taste like celery, so I don't know where that's coming from. And ultimately, the description on this was a lot more interesting than the beer ended up tasting. So, while it's drinkable and weirdly refreshing because it does taste like celery, I don't think they hit the mark on what they were trying to do, other than the fact there is a hint of blueberry or maple. And it's not necessarily something I would pick up again because I don't think I want celery when I drink beer. I don't know. It's weird because it's drinkable and I don't want to just sound like it's an undrinkable or a bad beer, but I think in what they were trying to do, they completely missed the mark.
Okay. It sounds so...
That's about...
I got lost. I'll admit I got lost in there. There's so many things going on. If a beer is that complicated, I'm not that interested.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to start out celery, and there's going to be some blueberries, and then a hint of maple, and then I'm going to finish as celery. If you can imagine
that's so like, how do you get a thing to finish like celery when there's maple in it? That's okay.
Too light on the maple, too light on the blueberry. I don't get any of the... It's more ale than gosa because it's got a very, very clean finish to it as opposed to like a tart. So... Yeah. I don't know.
Still, I mean, like blueberry and maple are still very strong, strong adjuncts that typically really stick out when you can. When you put shit in it.
Yep, I don't know.
Oh shit! 89-yard touchdown bomb to Odell Beckham Jr. from Baker.
Motherfucker.
All right.
Things I didn't need.
Yeah, that I think that helped me win in my league. But either way, moving on.
Just lost me a game, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
No, it did. Because 89-yard touchdown pass is, let's see, that's 9 plus 7? 9 plus 6. 15. I needed 15? Not, but yeah. Nope, that just lost me a game. Thank you, Alshon Jeffrey.
That's far.
Beer goggles.
Anyways.
Beer goggles.
All right, beer goggles, where we tell you who looks good and who doesn't look good. I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to start out with Carlos Hyde, 44.9% owned. He's got 30 carries, including 20 last week, 83 and 90 yards respectively. No targets, but that's mostly Duke Johnson. So you've got a smash and dash type of role here, but the guy's going to average 15 carries. He's going to get you 83 and 90 yards. That is flex worthy. And I'd imagine in a goal line situation, he's probably going to pick up a couple touchdowns as well. Carlos Hyde has found a resurgence here in Houston, and he should definitely be owned at this point, especially if anything were to happen to Duke Johnson.
I want to know where this Carlos Hyde came from, because it's not like Houston's got a good offensive line. It's pretty fucking bad. And it's not like they played against bad defenses, especially front seven.
Not like he was great for Kansas City to trade him, and it's not like he was great in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, like he's bad in Cleveland. That offense is dominant. He was supplanted and replaced in Kansas City before he even had a chance to show anything, which says a lot. He filled in Jacksonville. I don't say he filled in Jacksonville. He just got replaced in Jacksonville because Fournette came back. But still, I mean, we all thought, and myself included, that this was the Duke Johnson show and that Carlos Hyde was just whatever.
Scum.
Let's go.
Yep. All right. Terry McLaurin. Anything else to say that we didn't say about him earlier?
No, pick him up.
Yeah, 41%. Chris Herndon, 7.4%. Go.
This is your premature. He comes back after week 4. He needs to be on your radar. The Jets don't really have a lot of playmakers, and Herndon's rapport with Darnold when he comes back. If he comes back around the same time, it's amazing. We got to see what he did in the red zone and just with the tight end position as a whole. You need to get yourself prepared if you need a tight end to pick up.
Yeah. All right. For me, John Brown is my pickup. These next two guys are actually right below the 60% mark, which is what we use as the cutoff for pickups. John Brown at 56.8% owned. He's got 18 targets over 2 weeks, 14 receptions, 123 and 72 yards, respectively. That shows floor and upside both, with this past week being some floor, the week before that being some upside. John Brown is the number 1 receiver in Buffalo. Josh Allen does appear to have improved a little bit, especially with the extra receivers around him. John Brown should be owned. John Brown should be started in most scenarios. So get him off of waivers if he's somehow still there.
Yeah. I agree completely.
All right. And Frank Gore, talked about him earlier.
Yeah. Just go ahead and pick him up.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. We talked about him in the Buffalo backfield, so just rewind if you need to hear that. Greg Olsen is my other one, just below 60% as well. Had 9 targets each of the last 2 weeks, 110 yards this past week. He's still involved, and as a tight end, getting 9 targets a week, that's something you want to own and something you want to start. The biggest thing for tight ends is volume. Might not always produce, but when you get to that back end of, most leagues are going to be 12 teams, and most, even O.J. Howard and Evan Ingram have struggled, so you really have 3 viable week-to-week tight ends, and you're just hoping after that. So Greg Olsen at 9 targets a week, you aren't going to do much better as far as volume goes. You're just hoping you can do something with that week-to-week. Yeah,
it seems like Cam has reverted back to his old and trusted tight end safety blanket, as we saw on full display Thursday night.
Yep. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take my victory lap as we hit our cuts here, and people that were leaving at the bar. Dante Moncrief. So last week we had a difference of opinion in who you should cut.
I said you should still cut both.
Yeah,
but
I said you should cut Dante Moncrief. Well, sorry, we called out who we wanted to cut differently. You called out James Washington. I called out Dante Moncrief because it was 4 drops, and now you are calling Dante Moncrief after yet another bad performance and multiple drops.
I mean, this is how bad it's gotten for him. He had 1 target. The 1 target he got
dropped.
He tipped it into the he technically dropped it. He tipped it into the air that led to Mason Rudolph's only interception. Then he got benched,
as he should have.
That's it. He had one of the most premier situations in football, and that's it. I mean, it should be James Washington. If not James Washington, you have Deontay Johnson, Ryan Switzer.
Well, Deontay Johnson hasn't been able to catch shit either, so it's probably
nobody
James
besides Juju
Switzer.
has.
Yeah,
nobody has. It's not like James has looked particularly great either. This is just we're going to see a time where there is no Pittsburgh number 2. Like this, we'll see what the Mason Rudolph era looks like, but so right now it's just Juju, and you can pick up James if you want, but other than that, I'm not touching anybody from this core.
I would pick up James. I would expect somebody's going to emerge, and James, if he's the number 2, will have week-to-week value. So
he might get you some games, but is it gonna be worth enough to want to roster? Like he might be a guy that you pick up and then drop. Off.
Yep. All right. For me, I had Nyheim Hines. He's 51.5% owned, and basically he's not being supported without Andrew Luck there. He's got 6 targets for just 9 yards for the first 2 weeks, only 6 rush attempts. It's not enough volume or enough efficiency to keep him rostered. We saw a big run from Jordan Wilkins. We've seen 2 good weeks from Marlon Mack. Nyheim Hines is clearly playing kind of third fiddle here, and even in games where they've been close and the game script has stayed kind of neutral, he hasn't been involved, and even with the targets, he hasn't been efficient. So you can go ahead and cut your ties there. He should be available to pick up if he does do anything.
I think I saw a stat where it was Marlon Mack has run more routes in the last like 6 or 7 games compared to Naheem Hines.
Yep.
So, anyways,
all right, Jared Cook for you.
Yeah, so I won't take a victory lap on this because I think injury played a little bit more hand in this. But we did talk about the potential where the number 2 targets are going to go, and just the actual pass catchers, not counting Kamara and the running backs here. And while Cook has gotten 10 targets, it's been ugly. He's only caught half of them for 62 yards. The offense is going to take a step back with Teddy Bridgewater, coming back. And we've seen from Breeze the last 2 seasons and 2 games, I guess, has been this is a run first team that will lean on Breeze when they need to. I wasn't a fan of this move when it happened, and I think it's time to cut ties with Cook as some other these lower owned end tight ends are starting to emerge, like a Greg Olsen and other guys around him.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It is kind of injury related that it's never going to get a chance to pan out, but myself included was high on Jared Cook. It hasn't been great the first 2 weeks, and then with the injury, it kills it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't like to take a lot. I won't take much for victory laps. I'll say that I'm wrong about more things than I'm right on the first 2 weeks, but we'll see how this this whole playmaker stuff plays out.
The fact that you're drinking Stag would also say that you're wrong about more things than you've been right about in the first week.
Well, I think most people are wrong about most things. You've been abnormally right.
I've been abnormally right the first couple of weeks.
You've been like, it's like you don't want to say nothing because you don't want shit to change.
Yeah, because this is about to get really bad for me. Like I'm on a 4 or 5 betting run. I won money in DFS this week. I've been right on 66% of my calls basically through the first 2 weeks. You've actually 80%. I'm picking up 8 of I think a possible 10 points every week. So
you look good
the first 2 weeks. So this is about to get really bad for me and probably a lot better for you if I know anything about the way this goes.
I'm gonna have like a 15-point week or whatever. You're gonna go 0 for 15 or something.
That's how this is gonna work. All right, my next drop is going to be Golden Tate. First off, if you're still rostering Golden Tate, I don't know why. The offense does not look great. You haven't seen Eli Manning support really anything. Daniel Jones coming in isn't going to make that better, and I just don't see this offense being high-powered enough or showing enough out of Sterling Shepard or anybody else, which, granted, yes, Shepard had the concussion, but still, to really justify continuing to roster Golden Tate. He's the guy that if you drop, he's not going to be swooped up. You go ahead and you just sit on that, wait for him to come back from suspension and make him prove he does something before you go try to pick him back up. But if you're looking to, trying to cut into somebody to pick up, which is typically what this segment is for, that's why we cut with waiver picks. Golden Tate is not a guy that I recommend holding on to. It's the anti-Chris Herndon. You want to roster Chris Herndon until he comes back. You do not want to roster Golden Tate.
Yeah, like, I don't know why people drafted Golden Tate in the first place. It's not like the offense was going to be anything special. And he still has Eli Manning throwing on the football when he comes back, and Daniel Jones. You can be a little more cautious with Chris Herndon with Sam Darnold being out, but at least a tight end, there's still a lot of unknown at tight end position. There's a lot of receivers, especially rookie receivers making waves. There's no reason to roster Golden Tate.
No, there is not. All right, Dante Pettis, 47.9%, sleeping with Kyle Shanahan's wife.
He's doing a lot of things. So you like to talk about, you want to see what a player does when he gets the snaps. Can he convert those into touches? What we've seen through Dante Pettis, you got 49% of the snaps last week, didn't get a target. You got Deebo Samuel and Richie James all playing them. The Niners offense still hasn't figured out who their wide receiver is, and Dante Pettis at some point can still do stuff, but at this point, when there's a bunch of other receivers around that level, including on his own team, outperforming him, I'm ready to cut bait on him. I liked him coming into this season. I mentioned numerous times on the show that through all the off-season shit that was going on, I was a little concerned because he's not a guy that's going to just completely jump ahead of all these receivers. especially when they spend another second round pick on a receiver just like him and Deebo Samuel.
So-
I'm done with Pettis. You may feel differently because I know you're still very high on him, but for me, there's not now.
Well, surprise! I have a take, and I don't disagree with cutting him in redraft.
Okay. Oh
Um,
no, yeah. Don't cut him in Dynasty.
Do not cut him in Dynasty.
Do not move him in
because-
Dynasty. You can you can't trade him. There's just no value right now.
No, you need to sit on him in Dynasty because I do think
Yes.
it gets better one way or another.
Yes.
I did meant to kind of save face for myself. I did mention that I had some concern about Garoppolo coming back
Yes.
and chemistry there. Week 1 he was hurt. Week 2 he comes in and he's not really getting targets. I'd argue he's a little different than Deebo Samuel because he has the ability to play deep and not just be a contested catch route runner. He's more athletic than Samuel. But I think that with both Samuel and Marquise Goodwin, that hurts Pettis, right? And we're seeing Marquise Goodwin healthy as well, with Deebo Samuel, and those two combined to play like both of the roles that Dante Pettis is capable of. And I thought that Pettis was talented enough to take that, but for whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan isn't a fan. Even if he's on the field, getting snaps, there's not things going his way. Yes, play calling matters, but you're fine to cut bait with Dante Pettis in redraft and Dynasty. You got to hold him because there are better days ahead for him, be it in San Francisco or elsewhere, but you do have to hold him. He showed nothing when he was getting targets on the field to show that he couldn't do it or couldn't perform, even as the one when Marquise Goodwin wasn't playing. So I think it's a matter of opportunity, of chemistry, and of what they're putting on the field with him, and the fact that he hasn't necessarily differentiated himself. So I do still think we're gonna get a couple Dante Pettis relevant weeks this year.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
I don't think, especially given Goodwin's health, but I don't think you have to keep him rostered.
No, and like if you go and you look at how the snaps all played out, you had 4 guys almost at 40%. Like they're still figuring out who plays well together, what they're gonna do. This is still, I believe, a passing offense that's going to go through George Kittle. They get their running backs involved, all 18,000 of them. So, he's going to have relevant weeks. I think what's gone is the weekly relevance of Dante Pettis. And he's turned into more of a boom bust, potentially, especially if Goodwin gets hurt, and then more of a cheap DFS play when the matchup looks right.
All right. We're going to talk bad trades here for a second.
Oh boy.
So I got an offer earlier. It was Marlon Mack and Mike Evans for Joe Mixon and D.D. Westbrook.
Yeah.
So I declined that one. And now I got an offer that's Joe Mixon for Mike Evans straight up.
Huh. Same guy, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
Yikes.
So now the question is, how ridiculous of a trade do I propose?
Well, and oddly enough, they look better 1-to-1 because both of them have. I mean, they've both been banged up, so they're like.
Well, they've both
I can see a case,
underperformed, but I trust the wide receiver to come out and perform more than the running back with a bad offensive line.
So you're on Mike Evans over Joe Mixon for this deal.
Yeah, that's why
I would be the other way. So this is why I think the deal isn't as bad as it may
That's why I'm
sound.
not giving up Mike Evans because, yeah, I get it. You believe in Chris Godwin over Mike Evans. I believe in the offense still figuring its shit out. More and a wide receiver and a high-powered offense having more value than a running back without an offensive line.
Okay. No, it's. I mean, I don't think it's a bad deal. I would take Mixon. You take Evans. I think it's a little like to me. It's not like I hate Evans. It's just, and it's not. It isn't just because I believe in Chris Godwin more. It's just I love Joe Mixon.
I don't believe in Joe Mixon. I don't believe in Joe Mixon as a running back one this year.
Not anymore. Well, I mean, he only had I think 26 yards coming back in the first 2 games, so it hasn't looked good for him recently. But no, I believe that he did the same thing with his piss poor of an offensive line he had last year. I think he can still make face.
Yeah,
That's
well,
just me,
here's
though.
the thing. You had a piss poor offensive line last year, and now you're missing Cordy Glenn. You lost Jonah Williams, and you've lost pieces from that piss poor of an offensive line last year. So you have even more of a piss poor offensive line this year.
I mean, maybe it's worse. I don't think how it could get much worse. Maybe it has.
I don't know. Joe Mixon isn't top 12.
Okay, that's fine.
So, yeah, I'm not doing that. Not a snowball's chance in hell. All right. Moving on, Mitch Trubisky is my last drop. And this basically comes in. The offense has been out of rhythm. He's got no touchdowns, 1 interception through the first 2 weeks. And in single quarterback especially, you cannot roster that. You have to hold on in Superflex just because of the scarcity of the waiver wire. But you cannot keep Mitchell Trubisky rostered in a single quarterback league with the offense being out of sort and having the 4th most uncatchable passes, and no touchdowns through 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Bears' offense. The game was ugly yesterday, and you can talk about all the bad calls all you want. They got the win. That's great. Trubisky is she's showing absolutely nothing. To the point where even Allen Robinson, who I like coming into this year because I believed in Trubisky a little bit more, is even taking a ding, from that. It's still 2 weeks. We'll see how it pans out. But I agree. Trubisky was a fringe streaming option to enter the season, and now he's entered into the, you can't pick up his stream until he shows us something.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get the Dynasty Darlings out of the way and go home.
Yeah.
Dynasty Darlings.
All right, your Dynasty Darling is a guy that I was going to put as a waiver pickup given the way he performed and was targeted, and that's Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah, so I battled back and forth if he even fit this category. It's just the way that it's phrased. I was like, no, but then I was like, you know what? It's kind of hard to find one each week and week out. So finding somebody who is obscure as Demarcus Robinson is to most casuals, I figured I'd throw him in here. Basically, this speaks to what Kansas City is as a whole and this receiving core as a whole. You lose Tyreek Hill. Sammy Watkins comes off of a massive game, a career performance nonetheless. And your 2 leading receivers in this game is Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson. Both saw 6 targets. Robinson caught all of his for 175 and 2 touchdowns. Mahomes, again, just making gold out of the shit that he had to work with. While Robinson is the most athletically gifted receiver in this roster, there's going to be people out there that are going to be jumping all over him. I think you should in Dynasty. I think you should, if he's available, pick him up and see if you can sell high on him. Granted, it might be tough within the same week, but with Hill slated to be out for multiple weeks, Robinson blows up again. You got someone that you can move, to a contender looking to maybe trying to buy off of that. That's where I'm at with Demarcus Robinson. Where I put him on this list is that I liked him before the Watkins signing because I thought he could be the number 2. Now it just reassures what I think this offense is, and that it's someone's going to blow up each and every week, and someone's going to want to pay for a piece in that offense.
Yeah, and Demarcus Robinson, if Sammy Watkins is going to charge or draw coverage, he's just going to absolutely eat. That's what he did. You saw Mecole Hardman do some of that. Sammy Watkins did it last week. They've just shown the ability to get behind defenders and just Patrick Mahomes just hit anybody that's running open. And Demarcus Robinson has always been a speed threat. He's always had that ability to get behind defenders. So he's a piece of the offense you want to own.
Yeah.
As for me, I went with Devin Smith, who was Miguel highlighted him as a decent prospect coming out. Dynasty Guru. I think that's his Twitter handle. Yes.
Yep.
Who, friend of the show, highlighted him coming out. He was derailed by injuries, and then last week he got the chance to come up, given Tavon Austin's concussion-like symptoms. Went 3 for 72 and a touchdown, including a long reception for that. Michael Gallup's out. They're going to need somebody to step up and fill Michael Gallup's role, which has been consistently good. We know that it ain't going to be Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin's a gadget player. He's not going to step up and fill the role of Michael Gallup. So for me, Devin Smith is who I'm looking at to step up and really kind of fill that role. Yes, you'll see a bit more Randall Cobb, but I don't think Cobb loses his role so much as Devin Smith gets more of an opportunity to come out and perform. And with what you saw, he should be a guy that's freely available on dynasty waivers that you can go put a waiver claim in on and roster for cheap and probably not a ton of fab. If he pans out, then awesome. You have a startable piece for a few weeks and maybe beyond because he'll draw interest from places elsewhere that aren't Dallas. And if he doesn't, then oh well, you got him cheap. So he went out, he flashed, he performed, he finally showed what he can do with some of that talent, and he's a guy that now has a chance given injury.
Yeah, I completely agree with this call because they like to run three, or have to run that 11 personnel, those three receivers out there, even more so with Kellen Moore calling the plays. He's not gonna, there should be no issue with Randall Cobb. He plays a completely different role. Devin Smith just takes over for what Michael Gallup was, and that's more of a deep threat. We'll see if his route tree becomes a little bit more expanded now without Gallup. But I love the call, and a guy just like Demarcus Robinson may not have post 2019 value in dynasty, but someone that if you're looking to get a draft pick out of, if he shows out, you can probably move him for that, which is worth a lot if you just picked him up this week.
Yep. All right, that's all we got for this episode. Be sure to tune in on Wednesday. We'll give you start, sit, streams, all that fun stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, you can follow the show, Beerfield FF on Twitter, Beerfield Fantasy Football on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the icon there so we can get answers to your questions. A lot of stuff flying around in the chat too. Did I miss stuff?
No. Oh, wait a minute.
There's one that was hidden.
Yeah, where did that one come up?
It was hidden.
Hidden.
I don't know why that got hidden, but
sorry about that, Jack.
Yeah. Hey guys, Drew Brees owner in my league offering Joe Mixon for Dak and Michelle PPR. Think I should accept? Mixon off to a slow start so far. So Drew Brees is offering Joe Mixon for Dak and Michelle. I would not do that.
No, I mean, despite our differences on how we feel about Joe Mixon to Mike Evans, which I think they're about chalk at this point, there's no need to trade for a quarterback in a single QB league.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing in like a 20-plus team league with massive bench, I guess, if there's no quarterbacks to be found. But Michelle is also somebody that is very game script dependent. As much as we like to see New England get it out and get ahead, we can see him, get faded in games. Just see week 1 against Pittsburgh, for example. So I would not do that.
No, I would not either. Michelle has week-to-week Mixon upside, as you mentioned, week-to-week downside as well, but so does Mixon given what we've seen the first 2 weeks. Prescott's been absolutely on fire. I'm with you. I am not making that trade. Sorry, Jack, that took till the end of the show. YouTube decides to hide things which Dan can't see. He normally watches the comments during these shows because I'm busy, running drops and reading off notes and keeping the script in check. So I'm not sure why YouTube decided it needed to censor that unless, Mixon's a bad word. So
I mean, he's not a good person. I mean, he's saved face since the incident, but maybe YouTube hates him so much that if they see Mixon, they just get rid of it.
Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, they tried to censor that. So sorry that took so long to get you an answer to. Again, we will catch you guys on Wednesday with all your start sits, dynasty, love, etc., 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 another, etc. So yeah. At Hot BFF for me, 2Ps.
At BFF for me.
Yep. Wednesday, sometime. Bye.